Right, it's 6:05 and I think we are officially ready to begin. For those of you who have joined late, this meeting is recorded. I will be speaking for roughly 1 hour to 1 hour 10-15 minutes. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll address you and ask what your question is. You can ask your question during the tenure of my lecture, or you can ask them towards the end of the class, whatever you feel comfortable with. Since I don't know who are the people who have registered themselves and are attending this webinar, I'll keep the language of this webinar completely in English, because I feel that some of you might not know Bengali. So I'll keep it 100% in English. So I'm sure everyone must be okay with that. So today's topic that we are going to do here is how to do well in interviews, and for that we are going to cover some very important topics. Well, for starters, there is one thing that I would like to talk about, is that what is an interview, right? It is something that all of you already know, but I would still like to give you some clarification on this process. It's a process where few people, somewhere between 2 to 10 people, call you for a one-on-one interaction where they ask you certain questions and you are required to answer them. Now, for this particular webinar, I have chosen 4 different posts for which most of you will be applying. Those posts are for the post of guest lecturer, resource person, research assistant, and PhD interview or PhD entrance. These are primarily divided into 2 categories. The first is a teaching job, which is that of a guest lecturer or a resource person, and the second is a non-teaching research job, though that also entails teaching in some cases, and that's a research assistant or a PhD entrance. So I'll keep this class in such a way that it addresses both of these groups together, and I hope you will be able to understand what I'm talking about and what exactly you need to do in order to appear for these interviews. Now, I'm going ahead with the assumption that all of you know what these posts mean, so I'm not going to explain what these posts are, but I'll just take 1 minute to give you a short brief about the post called resource person. It's a post which is almost exclusively available in our state, West Bengal. I don't know if other states have this. It's basically the same as a guest lecturer, but due to certain rules and regulations, government affiliated colleges in West Bengal cannot hire guest lecturers anymore after 2019. So they hire resource persons, which is basically the same thing. They hire people who take their classes, because every single college in West Bengal is understaffed. I think most colleges across the country are understaffed. I'm not very sure about other states, so I'm not going to comment on it, but I know for a fact that all the colleges in West Bengal are understaffed as far as faculty members are concerned. So they hire resource persons or guest lecturers. In case of minority colleges can hire guest lecturers because they are not bound by the rules of the College Service Commission, which is the organization which hires full-time permanent faculty members for government affiliated colleges in West Bengal. So minority colleges can hire guest lecturers legally, and of course universities can also hire guest lecturers legally, but government affiliated colleges and fully government sponsored colleges, that is colleges which fall under College Service Commission and Public Service Commission in West Bengal, they cannot hire guest lecturers with certain exceptions, right? So this is our topic for the day. We will move on to our second slide. Academic interviews focus on subject expertise and communication skills, differentiating them from typical job interviews. Clarity and confidence in presenting knowledge are crucial for success. We have to keep in mind that you have to be a master of the subject that you are presenting on, and you have to know that this panel that you are presenting your work to will also evaluate multiple candidates. As a result, you must ensure that your presentation has clarity, communication, and confidence, often called the 3 C's of a good interview. Now, I'll do a very quick roundup of the 4 posts that are mentioned here, and you also need to know how to do these posts effectively, and I'll talk about what to do for each of these posts once you get a call for these particular posts. I'll not spend much time on this slide because this slide is pretty self-explanatory. I'll move on to this slide, which is the academic positions slide. There are 4 positions. First is a lecturer, resource person, research assistant, and PhD. I'll go with the first 2 categories. I know some of you have been called for the Scottish Church guest lecturer, resource person post. Now you will ask me a question that Scottish Church is a minority college. Why is it hiring a resource person and not a guest lecturer? It's their call. They can also hire a resource person, so that's what they're choosing to do. So what do you need to do when you are doing an interview for a lecturer or a guest lecturer or a resource person? Is first thing, you need to prepare a proper demonstration for a topic. It's called a teaching demo or a teaching demonstration. In this webinar, I will refer to multiple of my YouTube videos, all of which are available on my YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and type Aritra Basu, you will find my channel. It has a blue logo. Please feel free to subscribe to it. I will mention all the videos that you must watch in order to understand what I'm talking about, and once this webinar is done, you can then go ahead and watch those videos. These videos will also be linked in the PDF of this PPT that I'll send after this webinar is over, so you don't need to copy them down. I will be sending them in a consolidated format once this webinar is over. So the first thing is that you need to have a proper teaching demonstration. For that, you need to choose a topic for which you will give a demonstration. Now, as I have already mentioned in my YouTube video, for this you need to choose a short text, preferably a poem or a short story. And I would suggest that if you are a beginner, absolutely avoid a novel, and if you can, avoid plays as well. Choose a poem or a short story, because that way you have less chance of messing it up. So say for example, my favorite topic to demonstrate is always W.B. Yeats's poem The Second Coming. I have given that demonstration over 10 times across 4 years, 5 actually now. So you can choose any topic. In fact, the entire demonstration that I give during interviews is available for free on my YouTube channel. The entire demonstration from beginning to end, what to say, what not to say, everything is available for free on my YouTube channel. You can actually go there, check out that video, and there is also another video about what to do when you are giving a teaching demonstration. These are 2 separate videos. Please watch them. Right. So first you need to give a teaching demonstration. After you give the teaching demonstration, they will ask you certain follow-up questions depending on what you are talking about. Say for example, you're talking about Yeats's Second Coming, they might ask you about Yeats's worldview, generic apocalyptic questions and things like that. And the same applies for a resource person. For this particular webinar, we will consider that lecturer and resource person are one and the same. There is basically no difference between the two, at least in the state of West Bengal, that is. So you will be asked some follow-up questions about the teaching demonstration that you are giving, following which you will be asked to choose an area of expertise. It's basically the same as the permanent interviews for College Service Commission, which again is available for free on my YouTube channel. It's called My College Service Commission Interview Experience. It is one of the highest views videos of my channel. It has more than, I think, 15,000 views. You are also more than welcome to go ahead and check that one out. I shot that video right after I went through my College Service Commission interview. I went on 12th March and I shot it on 13th, and I published it on 14th or something like that, and it has had its fair share of success. You can also go ahead and check that one out on my YouTube channel. That is basically a shorter and a less serious version of that happens during an interview for the post of guest lecturer or resource person. After you choose an area of expertise, for which again I have a YouTube video. I know this is getting repetitive, but it is what it is. You can also watch that one. You can then come back and ask questions in the WhatsApp group or directly message me. My number is there on the WhatsApp group. So what I was talking about is that after you have chosen your area of expertise and you have answered all the questions about that, after that it's anyone's guess what they are going to ask. They can ask you anything. My suggestion would be to learn a little bit about the college where you're going for an interview, especially if it's a heritage rich college like Scottish Church or St Xavier's or Loreto or Ramakrishna Mission or whatever. If it's a heritage rich or a really old college with a huge history, maybe learn something a little bit about that. Who are its present head of the organizations, who are the ones who are there in the department where you are appearing. I think most of the people who have come for this webinar are from the Department of English, so look up who are the faculty members at the Department of English, so that you have an idea of who you are going to face when that interview is coming knocking at your doorsteps, right? So that's about your resource person and lecturer. Now I'll come to PhD. Now I'll keep research assistant for the last because I've appeared for the post of research assistant as an interviewee only once. Rest of the positions I have appeared multiple times. Now when you are going to appear for a PhD interview, you have to first write a proper proposal, and for that I have a course called academic writing where I teach you how to write a paper. I teach you how to write a proper PhD proposal, though they are separate portions of the course, but I teach you how to write a proper paper and a proper proposal. In order to appear for a PhD, you also should ideally have a few publications here and there, and once you have those publications, it becomes easier for you to then get admitted to the PhD program. You need to have a proposal, and then you need to give a summary of the proposal in 2 to 3 minutes, which is basically, if you think about it, basically the same thing as giving a teaching demonstration, except when you're giving a teaching demonstration, you're talking about a topic which the interviewers already know about, but when you're giving a summary of your PhD, the interviewers have no idea what you're talking about, because PhD is supposed to be novel work, that is, you are breaking new ground into the area which is your primary focus, right? So you have to give a summary of the PhD proposal that you're doing. Then you will be asked subsequent follow-up questions. You have to be as well prepared as you can be. Towards the end of the class, I will take questions from you as to what exactly you want to know and how you want your experience in these categories to be different than what others have been through. You need to be as well prepared as you can be. Now the thing is, can anyone in this classroom, I'm calling it a classroom out of pure habit and nothing else, can anyone in this webinar tell me what is common between all these 4 positions? What one qualification is necessary in order to appear for all these 4 positions? Can anyone in this classroom tell me that?
Qualifying net.
You are right. You have to qualify UGC net in order to appear for any of these posts. Now, unsurprisingly, you have fallen into a marketing scam where I will now tell you that I also help students prepare for net. Kiki. If you have not passed or qualified net in any category except category C, then you are more than welcome to join my next batch, which is starting from the month of February, that is for June 2026. The net that is going to be conducted in June 2026. Some of you here are already in my present net batch. Some of you here have been students of my previous net batches. I would ask you to share your experiences with the rest of the class when the webinar and my jibber jabber is over. So you need to qualify net in order to appear for all these positions. So I think most of you here have already qualified, so I'm not going to go into the details of it. You need to qualify net in order to appear for any of these positions. So in the PhD interview, then you will be asked subsequent questions about your area, why your work is different, to what extent have you read your bibliography, so on and so forth. It's basically a little different than the other 2 posts. Now, comes the post of research assistant. This is an entirely different post. When you talk about research assistant, what you have to do is you have to know about the project that they are researching on. Every research assistant is hired for a particular project. I'll give you an example. Recently, School of Cultural Texts and Records at Jadavpur University hired 9 project fellows. Project fellows are the same as research assistants, where they were doing this work called Shabdokalpa, which is headed by Professor Shukanta Chaudhary, and they are doing a new type of dictionary in the Bengali language. Now, if you are appearing for that interview, you first of all, your Bengali has to be spot on, and then you also have to know about how to make a dictionary, who are the stellar people like Samuel Johnson who have tried to make a dictionary. What is the difference between a dictionary and a thesaurus? And what you can do in order to do well with that particular project. You have to research that particular project, and the questions that can be asked in a research assistant post will be a mixture of the questions that were asked earlier for the lecturer posts and later for the PhD posts. Ideally, you should start your career after you finished your MA. You should work for a little bit as a researcher, then you should work for a little bit as a research assistant, then you should go to a PhD, because MPhils are now gone. So the only way you can get any real research experience is by becoming a research assistant, which is what I recommend to everyone. But research assistant posts are few and far between, so people don't get them that often. So this is a little bit brief about the 4 posts. I'm going to take a breather here and open the floor to questions. If you have any particular questions about any one particular post, or you want to ask me anything about what I have already spoken till now, you please feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask me a question. I will be more than happy to give you an answer, because if I keep the answers towards the end, then it will become a problem. Shagorika.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I just wanted to ask, just as you have discussed now that to apply for a PhD, we need to have certain publications before applying. So my question is there any kind of the quantity or some kind of limitations as much, how much or how many papers should be published before appearing for PhD?
Okay, that's a good question. That's actually a good question. See, legally you don't need to publish anything before you enter a PhD. Legally. That means on pen and paper there is no requirement. But ideally, since the competition is so high these days, you should ideally have 2 to 3. The more the merrier. Of course, no one is expecting you to have 10 publications before you enter a PhD. Something between 2 to 5 is, I think, ideal. More than that would be good, but I don't think that's required.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Madhuri is asking, what is the eligibility criteria for research assistant posts? Is it only MA and NET, or JRF and other certificates like computer knowledge, etc.? No, it's not even NET. It's just MA. In some rare cases, they might ask for NET, but that's only if they have prior permission from the funding agency. In most cases, it's just MA. Yes, in some cases, they might ask for computer proficiency, but that in most cases would be a desirable skill. And you don't need to have a certificate, you just need to be good at it. Only in, scientific projects like the one that was being done by IIT Kanpur a few months ago, where they were tracing the usage of AI in literature. In that type of a project, you might need some sort of certification, but in most cases, you don't need one. Right? I think that answers your question. Anyone else? Sreyoshi.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes.
Right. So my question is with regards to the slide which I can see now. The specific line, engagement with audience skills when it comes to resource person. So, what exactly does this mean and what does it entail apart from the one which you talked about was teaching demonstration? So, how does this come into that part?
First of all, the bottom lines are fillers. I hope you know what a filler is. I have written them just like that. But yes, in some rare cases, for the post of a lecturer or resource person, you might be required to give a demonstration in a live classroom. I had this experience once where the demonstration was held, instead of it being judged by the interviewers, it was being judged by the students whom you would potentially teach if you got that job. So, and here audience could mean the students or the interview board. So you need to engage with them, and that also applies to the post of lecturer and research assistant and PhD. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amimon.
My question is that for PhD, you said that 3 or 5 publications are required, but do those papers would have to be related to my proposal?
No. One paper related to your proposal is fine. Um, one proposal related to your proposal is fine, and I would say the rest. See, the thing is, the point of a publication is to see that you can get things done and you have a basic writing skill, right? If you have one or two publications which is closely related to your area of expertise or the area in which you are submitting a proposal, then the rest are random, that's fine. Of course, if all of them are related to your area, nothing like it, but even if they are not, it's fine. You can have varied interests. Even while you are pursuing your PhD, it's not mandatory to publish everything related to your PhD. I am doing a PhD on translation, and two of the 3 publications that I have done during my PhD were on posthumanism. So it doesn't really matter. Snehadeep is saying what work is exactly done in research assistant post. It's a difficult question to answer. Varies from post to post. Primarily, you might be required to do data entry, you might be required to do translation, you might be required to do field work, you might be required to do research, citations, tabulations, references, rewritings, editings, data interpretations, anything basically. Anything that you would require to do as a PhD scholar, you might be required to do as a research assistant. In some cases, maybe even more. A research assistant's work, since they are paying you, is in most cases more rigorous than a PhD, because in PhD, unless you have a JRF, you won't get money except that small amount for non-net. But research assistants in some cases get as much as 20 to 25,000 rupees a month. So they will make sure that you work with that particular amount. I was expecting a lot of questions. I was a little disappointed at the beginnings because questions were not coming, and now that they have begun, there's no way of stopping them, and I am happy with that. I am glad that people are asking questions. Pratasha is asking, how are those candidates judged in a PhD interview who do not have any publications yet? Depends on whether they have GRF or not. If they have GRF, then that's like a magic spell which makes the interview board forget everything else. If they don't have a GRF, then they are highly judged. Because nowadays nobody gets into a PhD directly after passing their MA. Those days are gone. You take at least 1 or 2 years after you finish your MA to get to a PhD. So in those 1 or 2 years, if you have not published even a single paper, then obviously you will be judged, because they will have a lot of others who will have 2 to 3 papers in those 1 or 2 years. Unless you have a GRF, in which case these things might not matter, unless there is a better GRF candidate than you. Okay, Tondrima is saying, if I have only one publication closely, yes, that's okay. You can try, obviously you can try for another paper, there's no harm in trying, but one is fine only. Madhuri is asking, if it's not in West Bengal, if there are blah blah blah, do they provide accommodation? No, they don't. You have to look after your own accommodation. They only provide you with the money. If you have to go somewhere other than the institute, in order to perform the research assistant's job. For example, if you are having to do field work, then they might give you a traveling allowance, but no, they will not give you accommodation unless it's a very highly funded project, which in these days are few and far between. Snehadeep is asking, other than questions from proposal during PhD interviews, what questions should we expect or prepare before appearing for the interview? You have asked a question to which I have a perfect answer. I have a video on YouTube where I discuss possible PhD questions. I'll send the link. Please watch that. Tondima is saying, if one is a JRF, then there is no, of course there is headache. If you are a JRF and you have paper publications, then to you are like what in Bengali we call Shona Tukro Chele or me. So the more qualifications you have, the better, because competition is becoming more and more fierce as days go by. Saeed Ibrahim is asking, how are candidates judged in an assistant professor interview who might have papers published but not pursuing a PhD? That's a good question, and I can answer this because I have appeared for assistant professor interviews before I started pursuing my PhDs. They are not taken seriously. You at least should be pursuing your PhD. If you have a completed PhD, nothing like it. If you don't have a completed PhD, at least you should be pursuing it. That way they know that you will have your PhD in a few years' time. So my suggestion would be to get a PhD if you want an assistant professor's job. As simple as that. So preparation, how do you prepare for these interviews? First, research the institution's culture and focus areas. Review key texts, theories and recent research relevant to your field. Prepare a concise teaching demonstration or presentation. Organize essential documents, CVs, certificate and research proposals as per the requirement. Tushar, do you still have a question? I can see your hand is still up. Okay, I'll take questions again a little later, okay, because I need to go through the slides and I need to say everything that I have to say. I know I invited questions. I did not expect so many. Thank you so much for the interaction. I'll take questions again a little later once I'm done through a few more slides, and again towards the end. Okay, I think that will be beneficial for everyone. So let's talk about preparation. You must research the institution's culture. I've already mentioned this. Everything here has already been mentioned, but let's talk about documents. What documents do you need? So for appearing for a post of a guest lecturer or a resource person, you need all your academic documents, especially one where your date of birth is mentioned. Generally, I will mention these in a quick pace. You can write them down if you want to, because this I don't think I have mentioned anywhere else. You can begin with your 10th admit card, ICSE, CBSE or Madhyamik, or whatever your 10th board is. A 10th board's admit card is considered a valid document for proving your date of birth, in case you did not know that. Then you have to give your 10th mark sheet, 10th passing certificate if your board issues that, 12th mark sheet, 12th passing certificate if your board issues that, bachelor degree mark sheet, bachelor degree certificate, master degree mark sheet, master degree certificate, any additional qualification like NET along with certificates. NET certificates, I think most of you have appeared for NET after 2019, so all certificates are digital. There is nothing called the original copy. You can print it out as many times as you want. And then if you have some experience, say you have taught somewhere as a guest lecturer or a resource person or as a research assistant, then those documents, if you have any publications, then the entire article in a printout. If it's digital, if it's physical, then the entire journal. These things you must carry, and if it requires a letter of recommendation, then the letters of recommendations must also be carried in hard copy, and all these documents must be there in the original and in a photocopy. Please don't make the mistake of calling it Xerox during an interview. You will be judged. For those of you who did not know, Xerox is the name of a brand and not the process. So all these documents need to be there. You need to prepare them. You need to photocopy them. Yes, once I was heavily reprimanded for using the word Xerox in an interview. And the reprimand was to such an extent that I went back thinking that do I even know anything? Right. So that's about preparation. There is a huge deal about preparation anyway. Um, you can we can go on and on about preparation, but yes, you must prepare a proper demonstration and a presentation. My suggestion would be to mug it up. Now, many people will come throwing stones at me and say, Dada, in the net class you say you hate mugging up. In university you say you hate mugging up. But here you are saying to mug up. Why? Because that's what interviewers understand. If you have not mugged it up, there is a high chance that you will stutter, you will stammer, you will forget, and as a result, they will judge you. But there's also a flip side to this coin. If you mark it up and they understand that you are saying things from memory, that you is vomiting it out as it were, then also you will be judged. You must mug it up, but you must practice it at least, my humble opinion, 20 times at home, so that when you are saying it in the interview, it seems like you are saying it spontaneously, but as a matter of fact, you are actually saying things from entirely from memory. Practice makes a man and a woman perfect. So make sure you practice your teaching demonstration and PhD presentation at least 20 times before giving it in front of the interview board. Before I first gave my teaching demonstration, I practiced it a grand total of 50 times. It was in the year 2021, and as a result, even in the late months of 2025, I don't need to rehearse it anymore. Every time I'm called for an interview, I just go ahead and give the same demonstration I had 4 years back, and I never need to mug it again. My policy is I will give proper efforts, but I will give it only once, so that when in future the same thing comes back again, I don't need to give any type of effort. So I think I will suggest that to you as well. Practice your demonstration, because I'll be absolutely honest with you, I have had the good/bad fortune of being on the other side of the table for some of these interviews as well, in some colleges and institutes, and the interviewers make up their mind whether they want to take the person or not within the demonstration itself. The rest of it is just a formality. If your demonstration is good, if it's excellent, then whatever you say next will matter. If it's bad, then you're automatically eliminated. Remember, interview is a process of elimination. It's not a process of selection. There will be 30 people, 29 will be eliminated, and the one who is left will automatically get selected. So your job should be to stop yourself from getting eliminated. I will take all the questions that are coming up in the chat box towards the end. Now, let's talk about structuring your academic CV. This is the first page from my CV. My CV, I think, is available for free on my university's website, and it's also available for free in the description section of the video on YouTube, where I talk about how to make CVs. It must have a guidance for clear targeted creation, focus on key accomplishments and relevant experience. You must watch my YouTube videos on how to build CVs. Do not include participations just to make it lengthy. Remember, a short and succinct CV is always better than a lengthy, boring CV. Now, those of you who might have seen my CV might say that, but Dada, your CV is 6 pages long. That's because I have 6 pages worth of material to put there. If you have 6 pages worth of material to put there, you put it there. But if you don't have it, don't unnecessarily expand it to 2 pages, 3 pages just to make your CV look longer. Making it look longer would not help you in any way. Actually, having merit in the CV will help you in many ways, shapes and forms. I have a detailed YouTube video on how to make a CV. I have several templates. My CV is also there for reference. You can check it out, build your own CVs, get back to me. I'll help you perfect them for future. This is basically how you should structure your CV. You should include experience, you should include education, you should include publications, presentations if you have done any courses, if you have been invited somewhere, names of recommenders, everything. So these are the things that you should include in your CV. I think we are moving towards a question answer session. It's fine only. I will quickly move through the slides then, because I can sense that there are a lot of questions. Here are now subject questions. Yes, so Tushar's question will be answered in this slide. Tushar is asking, sir, in many cases, interviewer is just asking questions on specific areas or randomly from anywhere. In that case, what to do? I mean, how to prepare for it? I prepared for demo, but any of which who got selected, they were not asked for demo. For those questions which the interviewees didn't have any idea what to say, or simply confess. So when you are talking about subject questions, you must know that your answer should be clear and concise. Even if you don't know, the best thing to do would be to say that I don't know this. It's never possible for a single person to know everything that is there on the face of this planet. So if the interviewers are actually liking you, they won't judge you for not knowing anything. But if you want to be over smart about it and try to bypass the question and give a randomly different answer, then they will obviously not like you anymore. Because please don't make the mistake of thinking that the interviewer is less smart than you. There is a reason he or she is the interviewer and you are the interviewee. Never forget that. Context: you must provide relevant examples when needed. Actually, examples are always welcome. If you are asked a question and if you can answer the question with an example, then that's considered the best answer. An example is always the best answer. If you have an example, throw it out. Right? Then you must talk about confidence. You must maintain your composure during responses. You must not get heated up. You must not react. You must not look nervous. And prepare and anticipate common questions in advance. Now, what is a common question? Most of the questions which are asked during these interviews can be anticipated well in advance. For example, let's talk about the PhD post. You might get asked a question like, is this not a very thoroughly researched area? Or alternatively, you might get asked, is this not too niche of an area? You might get asked why your texts are not in English, whether the translations of your texts in English are of good quality, whether you will find enough material to build a 10-page bibliography, whether your proposal has the merit to make it to a 80,000, 90,000 worded PhD dissertation. These are common questions that you might get asked during a PhD interview. For a resource person or a guest lecturer, you might get asked the most common question, which I think is absolutely irrelevant but still gets asked, is, where do you live? Now this is a trick question. I'll warn you, this is a trick question. For example, if the college is in, say, Khidirpur, you stay in Bonga. If you say Bonga, you are cancelled then and there. They will not even consider you. This is for a temporary post. Permanent posts, they don't care where you live because they know you will come. It's a permanent post. For a temporary post or a part-time post like a GL or a resource person, where you stay matters a lot. So you might want to, and I know I'll get a lot of slack for saying this, you might want to lie. Or you might say that my ancestral home is in Bonga, but I stay close by with a friend, or I have a PG nearby where I stay if the requirement arises, so that they feel that you will make it in time every day. Again, another important question and a very common question that is asked during resource person or GL interviews is, how will you manage students? You look so young. It's a question which I still face at the brink of turning 30. I'm still facing the question of that I am too young apparently, and I look as just like the students. So this is a question. Please don't get offended. You will say that, ma'am, I am there to teach them. They will automatically listen to me. I have a grasp over the subject, blah 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 blah. Things like that you can say. Right. Demonstration. I am not going to spend any time on this. There is already a YouTube video, 2 YouTube videos on this topic. I will link them in this particular slide. You can click on them and watch them. Tips: dress appropriately for the academic environment, arrive early. This is a very, very important tip. I know most of you are tardy. Please don't be late. If the interview asks you to be on time at 10 o'clock, please be there at 9:30. And another thing is that you have to be patient. Scottish Church College, again personal experience, in 2022 December, there was a post of an assistant professor. I was called at 10:30. I was asked to come at 10:30. I came at 10 and I was called for interview at 5 p.m. I waited for 7.5 hours in a single room. So that's the amount of patience you are required in order to appear for any kind of interview. You might be required to wait for hours at an end. Please bear with that. Actively listen to questions, pause before responding, send a thank you email after the interview reflecting your experience. This is not applicable to you. Body language, very important. Don't sit with your arms crossed like this. Never sit like this. Never sit like this. Always sit with your hands on your thighs, or if you are given a chair with hand rests, put your hand on the hand rests. If you are given stool type of thing, then make sure your spine is upright. If you are given a chair with a backrest, your back can be aligned against the chair. Make sure you are always sitting upright. Don't cross your legs. Look the interviewer directly in the eye. Don't shake your legs. Don't put your legs one above the other. Don't shake their hands unless they are the ones offering you a handshake. Always ask for permission before coming in, and thank them after you are leaving, while you are leaving the room. I will stop the presentation now because I can sense that there are at least 1 million questions. I expected a few more people actually. Okay, I'll answer the questions which have already been asked and then I'll take more. Snehadeep is asking, sir, what is the half-time and full-time thing associated with PhD and associated assistant professor? I don't know of anything called a half-time assistant professor. Assistant professor posts are generally of 2 types. One is the full-time contractual post and another is the UGC substantive post. Full-time contractual posts indicates that you will have a consolidated salary without any allowances, and a UGC substantive post means you are a permanent faculty member. In PhD, a full-time PhD means you have to go there every day, give your attendance, and a part-time or a half-time PhD means you have to just go there on once a quarter or once every 6 months. Momita Sinha is saying, what should be the ideal duration of a teaching demo? Not more than 5 minutes, ideally between 3 to 4. Pamela is saying, how should we get a hold of a letter of recommendation? Yes, you have to contact your professors from college or university. Letters of recommendation should ideally be issued by those who have had public and professional interactions with you. That means you cannot ask it from your tuition teacher. Snehadeep is asking the same question. I've already answered this. Is there any format for CV? I have mentioned that in my YouTube video. Is CV required for PhD interviews? It's always safe to carry a CV. Tushar Kormukar, I have already answered this question. Should we bring CV in the interview of resource person? Yes, ideally. Tushar Kormukar says, in other states who qualified, I'm not going to comment on this, it's a controversial question. Shunanda Basu is saying, if we have ordinary publications, I don't know what an ordinary publication is, and do not have a publication in a Scopus Index journal, will that matter as we appear for a PhD interview? Absolutely not. Until and unless you are going for a PhD in a highly reputed IIT, right? So Scopus Index publications are not compulsory at the entry level of PhD. But if you have it, nothing like it. But even if you don't have it, it won't make much of a difference, at least in the next 1 or 2 years. I don't know what will happen 5 years down the line. Amimon is saying, what if one does not have any institutional affiliation? Doesn't matter. You will put yourself down as an independent researcher and go ahead with it. Very rarely does any post require you to have a direct institutional affiliation. Monirul is asking, can we put recommendations if asked, or do we have to put there in advance like Gmail IDs and the others in the CV? Depends on your interaction and your connection and your communication with the people whose names you are putting down. If they have given you a free will to include their name anywhere and everywhere, then you can put that in the CV. If they have given you permission to include their names for one particular post, then you should not put it in your CV. Tushar is saying, I was facing the same question while giving the interview in the PG department because I have completed my PG in 2024 and net in June 2025. I don't understand. Which question were you not able to answer, Tushar? If you could kindly clarify. Shamadrita is saying, to prepare for the resource person interview, which areas of English literature should I focus on? Of course, you should focus on all the primary areas, like starting from the Middle Age up until the postmodern. And another main important thing which I forgot to talk about is that if you're appearing for a teaching post, it's very important for you to know the syllabus of that particular university or college where you're going to teach. You should obviously choose a teaching demonstration from any one of the topics which is there in the undergraduate or postgraduate, whichever level you are applying for, syllabus, and ensure that you know their syllabus structure well enough. I'll show you something if I have the access to it. I have it, but I don't know where I have kept it. দরকারের সময় জিনিসপত্র পাওয়া যায় না, এটাই হচ্ছে কিন্তু সব থেকে ট্যালেন্টেড জিনিস পেয়েছি। Yes, so I'll show you exactly how you should so this is how you should know the syllabus of a particular this is for Calcutta University. I can send a photo of this if you want. This is an outline of their UG syllabus, NEP. This is a list of their DSEs. This is the CUPG syllabus, CBCS. So this is how you should prepare for the syllabus and everything that is there. Right. Okay. I've already answered the second question that Shamadrita has asked at 6:57 p.m. Letter of recommendations are not mandatory. You will only give them if they are asked. Pratasha is asking, how should I manage an entire text within 5 minutes? For this, please watch my YouTube video. I'll send the link in the PDF. Should I just elaborate the theme without much textual analysis? Again, same answer. Archana is asking, what are the topics we can prepare if we are going for a demo in an engineering college or management college? That's a good question. For that purpose, I think that's the thing with which most of us get started. Engineering colleges or management colleges, you should prepare a demonstration for any topic which relates to communication. I have a PDF of 84 pages which deals with communication. I'll send that in the class WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group that has been prepared for this particular webinar. There you will get enough material to prepare a demo for communication. Okay, Anna Juhi John is asking, suppose one is appearing for an interview where they require you to have fluency in the local language to engage with the students, but the interview is either not or barely familiar with the language. How does one respond to the question? Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's a good question. This is actually a very good question because the reality of the situation is this. In West Bengal, we are required to teach English in Bangla. You will say that I'm not totally familiar with the local language, but since the language I'm teaching is English, I think the students can understand. But if you're teaching compulsory English, then it might be a little difficult for you to communicate in that language. You will say that I will pick up the local language within a few months. That's the easiest thing you can say. Nikita is asking, she's a very old friend, I think I can say. She's asking, do FDP's international... Yes, absolutely. FDP's international fellowships and the multiple awards which you have won will definitely matter. Any tips on how to deal with nerves? Personally, I've never experienced them. Well, that's a lie. I have experienced them towards the beginning of my career. I think the best way to deal with nerves would be to breathe and practice the interview in your head before you go there 5 to 10 times. Tonjima is asking, while preparing note for a demonstration or a poem, which areas should be touched on? Of course, a brief summary, brief themes, motifs, and definitely 2 to 3 quotations. Sir, how to tackle with the question regarding too young looking issue? You say that my looks don't matter, my teaching skills matter, and I think I have them aplenty. Monirul is asking, can I give a letter of recommendation who is from a different stream? Ideally, no. You are from humanities, right? So, no. Is there any possibility yes, absolutely. In many cases, they will give you a list of topics from which you will have to choose. But it's highly unlikely that they will not ask you anything in advance, and on the day of the interview, they will say that give a demonstration on this. Though this has also happened to me once. Shuman is asking, should we have to enroll in PhD within 1 year of qualifying NET? Though it is valid for lifetime for AP. Ideally, yes. Orchona is asking, is 2022 NET? I think you should apply again 2022 NET. It is still valid, but most central universities are asking for a more recent NET. Basically, it's nothing but a ploy to extract more application fees, nothing else. Ideal length of a teaching demo, I've already answered this. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions. How to manage an entire text within 5 minutes? Many of you are asking this. Again, please watch my video. I would really like it if you ask your questions verbally instead of typing them out, because that helps me a little bit. Otherwise, it feels like I'm talking to an empty screen. If you could kindly ask your questions verbally. Yes, Prerana, the plane is gone. You can ask.
Yes, good evening, Aritra.
Good evening.
I have a couple of questions.
Please ask.
The first one is that you just said that sometimes they ask that isn't this a thoroughly researched area? That's a common question that I've faced in PhD interviews. When I try to just put forth the multidisciplinary approach, they say that why do you think that even English department, you can do this in English department, this research in English department, why should we take candidates who want to work on visual arts in Department of English? How to deal with that? That's question number one. And even I have also faced this question that would you like to change your research topic and research area? How to deal with that question?
I will answer them one by one. First, the discipline question. We were of the opinion that NEP would make departments more inclusive. But they have made departments more exclusive. My suggestion would be to strictly stick to texts which have been published or translated in the English language and printed literature for English departments. That is my suggestion. If you are doing anything visual or films or anything like that, my strong suggestion would be to go to a different department. And trust me, I myself am doing my PhD from a different department. Doesn't make any difference as long as it's an allied department. Before you ask, I'll answer the question, which are the allied departments for English? They are comparative literature, comparative Indian language and literature, modern Indian languages, linguistics, film studies and cultural studies. No, letters of recommendations are not must for the interview. Prerana, your second question, if the interview board is directly asking you to change your proposal, then the smart thing to do would be to say yes, because one thing I have understood is that almost no one would get to work on an area which is close to their heart. So it's better to have a PhD in an area which you don't like rather than not having a PhD at all. So you should ask them a counter question. If I change my proposal, will that increase my chances of selection? If they say yes, then say yes, I will of course change my proposal. As simple as that. Okay, Tushar is saying, will you please comment on dressing? For men or people who identify as men, I would say formals, western formals, shirt and pant in tucked in during the summers, and during the winters if you have a blazer, nothing like it. For women, please excuse me, and for people who identify as any other genders, also please excuse me. I can only comment on men because any other comments will be যাকে বলে problematic, so I will restrain myself from that.
May I say something?
Yes, Tasin.
Suppose I am in a PhD interview and I know this place only one or two seats are available. Okay, and there it is very challenging and there are lots of competitors. I know. So in that condition, how to impress within 2-3 minutes?
First of all, your question is wrong. Why do you assume that they are better than you? Right? If you automatically go into an interview assuming that they are better than you, then you have already lost the battle. Right? So assume that you are better than them, firstly. And the second thing is that prepare your demonstration, get it checked by a senior or someone you trust, ask for their feedback, perfect it, and make sure that all the probable questions that they can ask you already know the answer to. That's how you can impress them. Dress part, I didn't say anything as such. I said shirt and pant tucked in during summers, and during winters shirt and pant and preferably a blazer. Snehadeep is saying for appearing in PhD interviews in allied departments, is clearing net in English enough? Yes, it is enough. Printed text may also have multidisciplinary themes. It may, yes, of course, you are welcome to discuss them. Clean shaven or normal, that I cannot comment on. It depends on your choice. Clean shave is, I think, safe. However, if having a clean shave gives you a younger look, then I think having a little bit of beard might be beneficial. It's a tough line to walk. Okay, any other questions? I was hoping to get it done by 7.
Sir,
Yes, please ask.
sir, when I was wondering about my expertise or PhD proposal, so the text I was looking for, so they have multidisciplinary themes. So they are overlapping with bit of cultural studies, subculture, etc. So clearing net for English subject, that would give me access to other departments as well. Like if I do my PhD under cultural studies department, so is it okay?
Culture
Well,
studies,
like-
first of all, does not have a net exam. Okay, so at least as far as I know, there may be an allied subject, but they don't have a net exam. So you automatically need to qualify it in some other subject. And
Okay, sir.
here comes the most important and interesting part of the webinar. I started this webinar thinking that I will launch a course in the month of January 2026, where I'll train people based on their specific needs, especially for PhD entrance, resource person, guest lecturer, and research assistants as per the requirements arise. Need based course, and I have also asked in the Google form how many of you would be interested in that course. Many of you, at least I think 80 to 85% of you said that you would be interested. For those of you who are wanting to get your works published, please consider joining my academic writing course. Next batch is from March. Those of you who have not qualified net, please consider joining my UGC net batch. Next batch is from February. Those of you who want to do better in interviews, please consider joining my interview preparation batch. That will start from the month of January 2026. All the dates are in 2026. So my যাকে বাংলায় বলে আমার কথাটি ফুরলো নোটে গাছটি মোড়লো. If you have any feedback, especially those who I don't know, I would like to hear from you how your experience was about this particular class, whether you found it useful or helpful, or if you want me to do similar workshops or webinars in the future, You can let me know what topics you would like me to cover. Especially I would like a little bit of feedback from the ones I don't know, because I don't know how much helpful this course was. So if you found it, Shuman Ghosh Dostidar is asking, are professors allowed to take tuitions or coaching classes? Yes, as long as they don't teach students of their own institution for the course at which they are teaching in their university or college, they are allowed to do that. Thank you to P. Jana. Saeed Ibrahim, you have cleared net. I would suggest you join my academic writing course, which is starting from the month of March to 2026. I will share all the details in the group. But yes, I would still like some feedback. I've heard from a couple of you in the comment section. Others also, if you could kindly mention if you found this useful. I would really appreciate that. All right, thank you everyone. You have been a very nice and kind audience. I'm sorry for so many planes. Not really in my hand though. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for joining in such a huge number, especially on Diwali Eve. And I would see you around. If you want to know more about my courses, I will send you a link. Please visit my website aritrabasu.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. All right. Have a wonderful
Stop, can you please share the website link?
It's aritrabasu.com. My name, then .com. All right. Chalo.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Bye bye. I will see you around, and my course is coming soon.